everyone. Are you an author? Do you want to sell more books? We all want to sell more books when we're an author, but there's a special kind of technique that you need to do, especially if you are selling books at events. And with me today, I've got Barry Mitchell from the Uncovering Greatness team. Barry is a sales trainer, a business trainer, and a mindset trainer as well. I have been involved with Barry's programs quite a few times over the last few years. And I have to say, as an author, it's made a significant difference to me. And with authors on our channel, it's write, learn, and earn. And so therefore, I think it's very important for us to have a master sales coach to talk us through the process on how to sell more books at an event. Barry, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about your background, what it is that you do that people can get into it, and why you're so passionate about teaching people how to sell better.
Cool, Kim. Well, great to be with you, and thanks for having me on this. So, as you said, my name is Barry Mitchell. I have a business called Uncovering Greatness, and I've been in sales for nearly 30 years. For well over a decade and a half, I've probably taught tens of thousands of people around the world how to sell, how to build businesses. My real focus now is entrepreneurship, building entrepreneurs. And why am I so, great question, why am I so passionate about teaching people how to sell? Pretty simple, because none of you ever learned how to sell. And sales is the single most important skill in business and in life. And, all through school, we don't get taught how to sell. At university, you don't get taught how to sell. I mean, I have some very well-schooled, very well-educated friends that have great skills, but they can't sell, and they can't generate an income outside of having a job. So, sales is essential. I didn't go through that route of getting degrees. I went through the other route. I failed university. I started working for my dad. They then sent me to the School of Mines. I failed the School of Mines, and then I got kicked out of home and told to go find a job. So I became a sales rep. And pretty simply, within 3 weeks of becoming a sales rep, I understood what the secret to making money was. It's very simple. Sales equals income, income equals life. The better you sell, the better you earn, the better you earn, the better you live. And once I knew that, I just made a decision that for the rest of my life, I was going to master the art and learn how to sell better and better and better and better. And so today, I'm very blessed. I get to teach and train around the world, and I teach, among other things, sales to entrepreneurs, teaching people how to make money. If you are short of money in your business, it's because you can't sell. If you're short of money in your life, it's because you can't sell. If you have relationships, because you can't sell. Why? Because sales is just another word for communication. In this channel, Kim, I'll ask you how many people have written some really great books, but those really great books have generated absolutely no money because they can't sell. So it's about being able to generate sales. I lost you a second.
There you go. That's very true, because the book business is about royalties and everything is driven with sales. And what some people do, so I know a lot of authors who are on Amazon, and they think that Amazon is I got into Amazon, now it's going to be big time. But there's a very strong business process behind it. And sales is all the way woven into it. I mean, your very first sale a tactic that you've got to come across on Amazon is doing a book blurb, which is essentially, people think it's just about the book, but it's actually a sales pitch. And a lot of the incredibly experienced people will say, when that first opening line, when people just look at the thumbnail of your book, how does that grab them? So you've written a lot of different, or assisted a lot of people with perfecting their pitch. What is the thing that you often say? Because for those of you who are watching with books, if you're an author, your blurb is your pitch. Whether you are a novelist or you are a non-fiction author, it is your pitch. So Barry, how do you dig into people's emotions? And what I know you've said a lot of times, there is the point of pain. how do you translate a point of pain? What is a point of pain, and how does it translate into writing a blurb or selling your book, whether it's to a publisher or to a consumer?
Well, right up front, people buy based on emotion and they justify their purchase based on logic. It doesn't matter what you're purchasing. If you need to purchase milk, why do you purchase milk? One, because you don't want to run out of milk, or two, because you've run out of milk. That's why you go to the shop. You don't go to the shop if you have 50 liters sitting in your fridge to get milk, because there's a point of pain. That doesn't make sense. So when it comes to nonfiction, what are you writing about, and what are people going to learn from you, and how's it going to solve a problem? Okay, so that's nonfiction. So, for example, if I write on entrepreneurship, what are the points of pain I'm going to address? So the very first point of pain I would address is, I would ask a very simple question: what did school teach you about being an entrepreneur? So right up front, I'm going to ask that question: what did school teach you about being an entrepreneur? The answer is nothing. And then my next statement would be something like, well, if you like me, my answer was nothing, which means I had to spend a lot of money learning from other entrepreneurs, boom, boom, boom. In my book, I unpack the 21 essential tools that I learned from the top entrepreneurs around the world, like Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Advisors, and so on. So if you want to save the heartache, so can you see how I'm molding it so that I'm going, it's deep inside, and I'm just connecting with someone who's looking for me. If someone's not interested in entrepreneurship, if someone doesn't think they need to learn more about entrepreneurship, they're not going to buy my book. Why would they? So yeah, when it comes to fiction, well, what if you want what's it sounds funny, but what pain does your book address? So someone loves reading, I don't know, romance novels, and they can't find another good romance novel. Or, they found that romance novels are the same. When you get this one, it's the same old, same old. Well, if you've written something that's different, but it's a romance novel, well, you go after that. You would say, are you tired of the same old romance novel? Someone meets someone, they fall in love, live happily ever after, have a couple of problems along the way, but everything goes shiny. Well, this is not one of those same old romance novels. This is about. So what you're doing is you connect with where people are. You connect with the problem. I talk about pain, but essentially the art of sales is finding out what problems people have and helping them solve it. Finding out what people want and helping them get it. And so when you, in your pitch right up front, you've got to be able to connect with people so that, Kim, today it's estimated that the average person's attention span is less than 10 seconds. So when someone goes onto Amazon, when someone goes onto online, if in the first 10 seconds of what they read has not caught them, they're gone. What they see and what they feel, and get this, it's about what they see and what they feel. When it comes to communication, physicality and tonality make up 93% of what we get when it comes to communication. Words are 7%. So we get lost in our words, and I know you guys are. This is an author's channel, and words are very important. But a lot of times in the area that I specialize in, the verbal communication, people get so worried about saying it correctly or writing it correctly that they lose all the emotion around it. So you got to connect to the emotion, and that's the start.
You actually are very right. I've attended a couple of blurb writing courses, and that's the first thing they say. What is the emotional state that that people are in? And you've got to ask a question that draws them in. I know there was someone that said, would you murder your wife to save your daughter? And then, that's like, oh, and it's like, a real serious emotional thing that makes people want to read a little bit more. What is this book about? Because that question just throws them completely. So now let's go back to our original purpose. That when you are in an event, I've seen a lot of authors or a lot of different professionals go into an event. They're doing their book, they're writing their book just to basically give them credibility. But you've sold, how many books have you sold at your events of your first book that you wrote?
Kim, we stopped keeping account, but last account, we've done over 6,000 books through the events that I run.
That's very, very impressive. So it's, I know that from a business perspective, you always say, some people are just thinking too small a game, and there's just so many ways of earning income. How do you drive sales at an event for yourself on book sales?
So I think, maybe I can set a little bit of context. I never wrote a book to be an author. I wrote a book as a byproduct to what I do. So I'm in the seminar teaching training game, and for years people were pressuring me. You're a top speaker and a trainer. You should have a book. You should have a book. So I wrote a book, and I wrote a book to sell through seminars, to use as a calling card, and I mean, you might find this interesting. Right now, I actually don't sell that book anymore. We give it away for free. So, interesting. You said to Michaela, what's the link if someone wants to download and buy your first book? Sales is a life skill. We'll give them the link later on if you guys want it. It's 18 tools and techniques on how to be able to sell a lot better and really live the life that you want through sales. But you'll be able to download that for free. So I'll give that as a gift to your audience, Kim. But yeah, so selling out of events. Well, there's a couple of things. One, you've got to set it up right up front that you're going to sell your book. So two, you've got to teach people. They got to see value in what you're doing. So when you're selling your book, you've got to connect it back to the value they're getting and the problem that they're going to solve. So the third thing is you've got to be clear that you're going to sell. And selling is not about, hey, please buy my book. I see way too many people, write a book and they go beg people to buy their book without begging people, if that makes sense. I've written a book, would you like to buy it? Would you like to buy it? Rather than actually, hey, do you read? I mean, the first thing is, how many of you read? I do, good. Excellent. So those of you that read, now I would kick in with those of you that don't read, let me tell you a little stat. 80% of all the most successful leaders and successful people interviewed read. So if you're not reading, you're doing yourself a disservice. So I would set up with that. Then I'd go, for those of you that understand that and read, now I'd get into whatever my topic is. So what I've done is, in order to help you, I have a book that will get you started. And that book will, the power of writing books, Kim, and sorry, maybe I'm diverging a little bit here, but even in in an author's profession, once you have a book is like a brochure to being able to do a whole lot of other things. You write a book. That book is a calling card. It's a brochure. It's the steps to your next product. It's an opportunity to be able to merchandise. You can't do that until you get that out into the market and people are using it. So when you get the opportunity to speak and to promote your book, one, make sure you always have a book with you. I meet a lot of people as well that go, I've written a book. I go, where's it? Oh no, I don't have it on me. I have a book. I have a copy of my book that sits in my briefcase all the time. I mean, sometimes I give away tatty copies because it sits in there for a couple of weeks and I haven't given it to anyone, but I've always got the book. Does that make sense? So first thing is, have a book, make sure you have it. Two, have stock. If you're going to sell the book, have stock. Make sure you have it at the back. And then, you learn techniques over a period of time, like how to package that book. So it's a book's a book. A book, I can tell you, I give you 20 books on sales, you'll learn out of all those books. So one of the powers is to be able to create a package so that you get more than just a book. So if I said to you, Kim, I'll tell you what, so Kim, I have a book, it's $15 US, it's on sales, would you like to buy it? Okay, so that's typical, that's my book. And I can tell you all about it, you'll go, okay, that's cool. If I said to you, Kim, would you like to learn more about sales? And you said, yeah, I would. You go, excellent. I have a 5-step system which has a series of DVDs, and it's 15 minutes each, and it'll take you through 5 critical steps plus a little worksheet. Is that something that would interest you?
I see. So you're leading them with the questions.
So I'm reading it. So now I go, okay, is that something that would interest you? You say yes. I go, excellent, Kim. That's $99. It's $99, or let's say dollars, $99. And you go, wow. I go, good. And Kim, not only that, but if you buy that for $99, I'll throw in my book for free. Boom. So what I've created is I've created another package. So for someone like you, you've written a trilogy, I think, or more than that now.
I'm busy editing the trilogy, so that's going to go out in March.
So now you start creating a package around the trilogy. You can sell one book. That cost of that one book is more expensive than the cost of 2 books. But if you put all 3 together, you make a 50% saving on the first book, for example. So you put together a package to give people a reason to increase their spend, and that's the art of sales. But first up, and I think you got it. When you're trying to sell to people, the real holy grail is learning how to ask questions. Too many people will go out and they'll tell, you need my book because of this. You need to read this. You want me to go, hey, I want to read your book because of the questions you've asked me. If you could learn more, if you could do this, if you could do that, would that help? Excellent. Would you be prepared? I have a very simple technique to sell off stage, which I learned from my mentor, a guy called Blair Singer, who's one of Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad advisors. And it's very simple. Can I share that with you, Kim?
Absolutely. I love Blair Singer. That book, because you recommended that book to me, that catapulted me to actually finish my book, because I was quite fear-driven and I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. But that particular book, and the story about that is that I wasn't quite clear, but I was going to finish it. And then he has this thing in there that says, God wants to deliver a gift to the world. And he's doing it through you. And when you don't do it, then I'm like, ooh, that's like quite serious. It's like, that's almost like an act of disobedience. So anything you can share about that book, we'd love to hear.
So Blair's book is a book called Little Voice Mastery. And yes, it's learning how to manage that little voice. Yep, that little voice that you guys all have, that little voice where some of you are like, oh, but what happens if there's some spelling mistakes in my book and then I need to check it for the 150th time? So what if there's a spelling friggin' mistake? Who cares? There's a spelling mistake. Guess what? Someone will reply to you and you go, thank you. Then you fix it. But those are little voice things. I mean, can you connect with that, Kim? It's got to be perfect. I've got to get it out there. Those are little voice things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
When my story's perfect, then I'll get it out there. When the cover design's perfect, it's in life. It's never going to be perfect, because the journey of learning is, as you learn more, you go, oh wow, I learned I could have done that. When I wrote my book is self-published. People said to me, you can go get it published here. I just went. For me, it's really simple. I want to write this book. I know what my message is. I want to get it out there. I'm going to self-publish it, and I'm going to get it into the market. That was it. And is it the greatest published, best looking book in the world? Definitely not. But you didn't buy my book for what it looks like. You bought my book for the knowledge that's inside it. Does that make sense? As I've gone on, I've learned. I've seen. Oh, I can change cover design, and I can do this, and I can add to it. I'm about to write a second edition of it, and we'll change that, and that's all cool. But I got started, and the quicker I got started, why? Because I got through my little voice. I didn't let my little voice hold me back. I've got a friend of mine who started writing a book at the same time as me. He's still writing the same book. Mm-hmm. 5 years later, I've sold 6,000 copies. Yeah. So, and he made some comments about my book. Oh, you could have got a better design. You could have done that. I'm like, great. When's yours coming? So what Blair teaches is around little voice mastery. So, we all have stopping points. We all have things that hold us back. In writing terms, writer's block. A lot of that stuff, I believe, is little voice. It's all these little voice things that are holding us back, the fears, the anxieties. So, bit of advice I can give to any of your viewers, Kim, get your hands on that book, Little Voice Mastery. Those of you that are in South Africa and you'd like to get a copy from us, you can get a hold of us at Uncovering Greatness, and we can supply you with the book. But you can buy it online, you can buy it on Amazon. Little Voice Mastery, how to get through that little voice. So That's that's Blair Singer, Rich Dad Advisor. When I first started working at Blair 15 years ago, I learned a very simple process, 5 steps. And the steps are problem, solution, benefit, offer, close. Step number 1, you have to identify a problem with your client. Step number 2, you have to have a solution that solves the problem. Step number 3, the client has to get a benefit to use your solution to solve their problem. Step number 4, you have to give them an offer. And that offer, the cost of that offer has to be less than the return of the benefit. And if you get that right, they'll buy. So, one of my favorite tools in my sales seminar, and you've been in a number of them, is I use a demonstration where I sell my book. And I start off, you start off by asking questions. How many of you would like to learn how to sell more? How many of you think that if you could sell a lot more and make more income, it would change your life? So I connect to the problems. How many of you have had fears of sales? How many of you never learned how to? So I create all those problems and I ask people all those questions and I go, great. So if you could learn 18 tools and techniques, would that benefit you? If you could learn 18 tools and techniques that have helped me over 27 years of sales, would that benefit you? And so I asked them, if you could read 18 tools and techniques. So I connect the solution and then I go, why would you want to do that? So in the written words, you've got to ask, you put it out there. So if you could, would it make a difference? And you could do A, and you could do B, and you could do C. But when you in the verbal world, you ask, why would you want to do that? I ask people, why would you want to sell? Oh, because I could realize my dreams. What are your dreams? See, I'm getting into the emotional. Well, how long have you had that? 10 years. Are you not sick and tired of following the same dream of 10 years because you can't sell? I want to make more money. If you could make more money. So now I start creating in their minds the benefit of being able to learn how to sell. And then I go, great. So let me ask you this. How many of you would be prepared to pay $15 or $20 or whatever it is to learn 18 tools and techniques? Boom, you see, that's my offer. Now I've already connected to them. And then I go, and you know what often happens? You've seen it, Kim, what often happens?
Oh, the little voice gets in the way, and then you come up with all kinds of different reasons and excuses.
But what often happens when I sell? What often happens when I sell? People come running up to take the book out of my hand.
Yes.
Okay, I don't have to close them.
Yeah.
Or I go, I have 100 copies only for the first 100 people at the back. It's $15. Boom. They close themselves. So when you learn how to sell, probably people close themselves. What happens with too many people when they're trying to sell, they're begging people to go buy things. You don't have to. When you connect with the right people and they connect in their own mind about why they need to do something, they move and they make it happen. So that's
right on because the emotional connection, I have seen that in your room when that person is hungry for the change and they believe that your solution can give them that change, then yes, they do sell it to themselves.
So I sold a book that you can buy on Amazon. You can buy it on Amazon, okay, but not in a downloadable version, but in a physical copy. You can buy it on Amazon for $35. I sold for $500 US in a room.
And how did you do that?
Exactly like I just showed you. Problem, solution, benefit, offer, close. I just done a seminar. I talked about the power of what's in that book, how they could learn it. There was a business owner in the room. There was a book called Code of Honor. It's about creating the right structures. And I said to him, at the end, I said to him, let me show you an example. And I did exactly what I just done. And I said, I have one book available, only one. It was the only, and that was the truth. So don't lie. Don't say to people, I only have 100 books and then you have 1,000. Don't do that. So tell the truth. And I said, this is what I have. I have one book. And, if you're a business owner and you want to build a solid team and you want to learn how to do this, this is the deal. But that book is worth $500. The guy got up and he paid me cash. Said, thank you. And people couldn't believe it. And he said, you guys don't understand. $500 to fix my team this week. I'll be able to generate way more money than waiting for Amazon to deliver in the next 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks or whatever it is. He says, you don't get this. It's not about the book and not about the money. It's about the knowledge that's captured inside of it. You see, people were there. He's mad. They didn't understand. My sale was not pitched to the people that weren't interested. They were pitched to the person who it connected with. You get that?
Yes. Yes, I get that.
That's why, people go, how can these coaches charge 100,000 for 100,000 for 3 hours of their work? Why? Because they can sell and they can position it. And people go, I want to work with that person. It's the same as your books. Why do they want to buy your book? What? Because you're a good author? There's hundreds of good authors in the world. There's thousands and millions of good authors. Millions. Why? Because I'm a great author. You must read my book. No, you've got to have some connection to them.
That's very, very true. I want to just chat about the funnel. When I've done the sales program that Uncovering Greatness team offers, you speak about funnels, and I've used that in my book business. I have a couple of different things. I have one for getting reviewers, and for those people who are very serious about building an author business, that reviewers give you social proof. So you have to have a certain number of reviews before the algorithms are actually going to take you seriously and start repositioning your book to real buyers. But then there's a whole bunch of other funnels that I've built along. Please explain to our readers, what are funnels and how do you build one, and what is the benefit of doing it?
Okay, cool, Kim. So I'm just going to check. This is a lot easier for me to do than speak it. So just give me 1 second. I think your viewers will be a lot more value if I do it like this. So this might be throwing the interview out a little bit, but I think your viewers will get a lot more value out of this.
Perfect.
Is that okay with you?
I love it. Go for it.
So most of you would have heard of sales funnel. So we all hear of this word sales funnel, sales funnel, sales funnel. So the concept of a sales funnel is very, very simple. You feed leads in the top, and you work through a series of actions, and out the bottom, you generate money. Okay, so that is the core concept of a sales funnel. So right at the top, there's a series of steps. So the first step in a sales funnel is, what are you doing to generate leads? So it's all very well being on Amazon. The question is, how are you going to drive traffic to Amazon? You've got to drive that. If you, and I may be wrong here, Kim, I don't spend a lot of time on Amazon, but if you're just going to rely on Amazon for your book to sit on Amazon without you doing any additional work to drive people to your book, you're leaving your sales opportunity in somebody else's hands. So would you agree with that?
I completely agree with that. Statistics show that the average author who's on Amazon will only sell 200 copies of their book in their entire lifetime, and that's not enough to be to earn a living from that.
Okay, so wherever you are, what you have to do is you have to generate leads, and there's many ways to generate leads. You can go on social media. You can be on Facebook, you can be on LinkedIn, you do all that sort of stuff. So you can be on social media. You can do it live. You speak at events, you do those type of things. But you have to, so you get this, you have to have things that you can generate leads. You go door to door. In a typical sales environment, you go door to door and you sell stuff. And so up here, this is all about marketing. How am I connecting with the customer base who's potentially interested in buying my product? And then you take them through a journey, and it's a journey of actions. So, in the typical sales environment, is if I get a lead, so we get a lead that comes in, guess what? They get an email. Okay, so they get an email, and with that email, they say, thanks for having a look at our website, please download, and I give them a free gift. Okay, so I give them something for free. I add value to them. I give them something for free. And then when they get this for free, then they gave us their details because they came onto our website. Then the next thing is we'll give them a phone call. Thank you so much for coming onto our website. We really hope you got value in it. Did you receive our free gift? What did you think of that? Awesome. See, what I'm doing is I'm building a relationship. You get that? And then it'll come to the time when I'm going to start selling them into whatever I'm going to sell them into. But I built this relationship. Sales is about building relationships. It's all about building a relationship. So when you're building a funnel, what are the activities that you're doing to find customers? Starts right at the top. What are the activities you're doing to find customers? And then it goes through a process of how are you approaching them or making contact. Does that make sense? And then what is your pitch and or presentation? What's your pitch and presentation? You get that? So for example, Kim, if I can use you as an example, let me use you as an example. So you generate leads. So you generate leads. You might be on Facebook. So you get people with your target market, people that are interested in reading the books that you write. Okay. So now what happens is maybe before they buy, you send them a 3 free chapters to get an idea of what the book's all about or what the trilogy is all about. To give them something for free. They go, hey, they really like it. Maybe you can, when they download your book, you can even give them a call. Hey, how did you find it? Did you get value out of it? Did you read it? Yes, I did. Excellent. Would you be interested in buying my book? Yeah. So now you start selling. So your book becomes what you sell. But guess what? The funnel goes even further because as you sell more books, as your name grows, well, guess what? Now you can start doing things like teaching other people how to write, speaking engagements. Whereas a lot of people in sales, they get focused on, this is my product, this is what I'm going to sell. It's not about selling a product. It's about the experience. It's about the value that you add to clients. It's about the relationship that you build over a period of time. You can sell a book, one book. See, that's why I said, you sell one book. Immediately, can you see how I packaged, just now I gave you that example, I packaged my book into a video training program for $99. My book, you guys know what it costs to print a book. I create $99, send some of my knowledge out, boom, do that. I sell a book and a program at the same time. But I'm packaging stuff. If I add value to those people, guess what they're going to do? They're going to get a hold of me. We're going to follow up with them. They're going to go, I really got value out of the training package. What other things do you do? We do a sales event. Oh, I'd like to come to the sales event. And that's the process. In your terms, one book would lead into another book, would lead into another book. So as you start building, does that make sense? So the funnel, and guess what? As people come in here, they're going to fall away, and they're going to fall away. That's why it's a funnel, because you're looking for those people and moving all the way through to here. Okay. Now, a key component of the funnel, and this is where a lot of people make mistakes, is this is the most expensive part of business. This at the bottom is called retention. Is the most important part of business. Too many people get customers, and those customers never hear from you. Once you have a client who's bought your book, who has purchased your product, you've got to keep them in your world. How do you keep them in your world? You add value to them. You send them bits and pieces. You invite them to come to the next book launch. You do there's a whole myriad of things that you can do, but you want to retain people. Why? Because if you're at front of mind, they buy. If you're not, they go buy somewhere else. Does that make sense, Kim?
It makes perfect sense, and it is something that is built into our author community, but a lot of authors are, they're reluctant to actually follow the process. So for us, funneling is definitely the newsletter, because what authors don't realize is that Amazon is a retail outlet and they care about their bottom line. Yes, they do want you to do well, but they care about their customers, and their customers are not your customers. So if you haven't brought out...
This is how do you make their customers your customers?
That's exactly...
And you do that by retaining people in your world.
So when you build a newsletter, when your new book comes out, you can drive people to Amazon. You can work that as your funnel. But if you've got no relationship with them, and you're only ever emailing them when a brand new book is coming out, then you're not adding any value to their lives, and you're not going to have a good conversion rate.
Well, my question to you is, why would you only want to sell your book? So it's the other area that people make so many mistakes. They get so single focused. I've written a book, you got to buy my book. Okay, great. So you sell 1,000 books, you've had 1,000 clients. Somebody else writes a book that's in the same genre of what you write. Why would you not want to sell their book to your 1,000 people and make an extra $20 per person?
There are a lot of avenues that are available for that, but yet again, authors are not always in tune with it. So Amazon has got an affiliate program. And if you link onto that and you're recommending books within the genre, you can still get affiliate income from that as well.
As an entrepreneur, I'd want to create my own funnel. When I have 1,000 customers that I'm adding value to or reading my newsletter, yes, they trust me. Why would I not want to go out and find somebody else's book who I trust, who's a good author, who's part of my community, and offer it to my client base as well? Guess what? I'm going to build my business. I'm not only going to be an author, I'm eventually going to become a book supplier. That's how an entrepreneur thinks, Kim.
Yes.
So guess what? If you add more value to people and you supplying them more books, what's going to happen to your next book?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've also seen that, there's a knock-on effect where they call it a read-through. So when a person buys your first book and you've got the second book available, then they will buy the second. So I noticed that in terms of my sales, as soon as the second book came out, I doubled my sales because people were, okay, there's 2 products that I can buy. And you're absolutely right. You can go into training and merchandise, and there's just so many things. If you look at all of the big brands like Game of Thrones, they've got this pop-up book with all different things in it, and there's merchandising, apparel, a whole bunch of different things that you can actually start getting. Eventually you can have a theme park.
Well, the deal's this, is that where a lot of people make the mistake is that that's what they want right up front. That's not how Game of Thrones started. It started with a book, just like everybody else. It was written and someone had to go out and sell it. And they sold it and they marketed it and they built a customer base. They did this. They retained people to create a following and a fan base. Game of Thrones could take your book and sell it to their database, and they would sell tens of thousands of copies because of the trust that they've built.
That's true. That's true. One of the things that you've said in your training programs, which has really stuck with me and it's helped me to have stamina, is that people underestimate or overestimate what they can do in the short term, but underestimate what they can do in the long term. So people give up too easily when things are not going the way that they'd hoped for in the beginning.
So most people have unrealistic expectations. Now, don't get me wrong, Kim. This is not about narrowing your thinking and reducing your dream. Think big. I mean, now one of the first people, if you come in my program, one of the first questions I ask is, how big can you play? How big is your game? But what I see with people is they have this unrealistic expectation. I've written this book. I'm going to sell, it's such a good book. I'm going to sell 10,000 copies in 3 months. And then they sell 50 copies and they deflate it and they quit and they stop selling and they try to do something else. Keep going. If it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. They're not. So it's the people that, you got to keep pursuing the goal, the dream, keep pushing through. A friend of mine wrote an incredible book called Persistence Pays. And it's right in the beginning. It's that persistence. And it'll come through. And if you persist, if you get help, if you stay in the right environment, if you hang out with the right mentors, if you expand your level of knowledge in terms of how to sell better, how to do business better, all those type of things, when the time and the timing's right, those things will happen. And when you actually really fulfill the whole journey and look back, you'll go, I never saw that. I mean, I'm going to hazard a guess, Kim, when you first started writing, you just write it, and in fact, I know, because it was I'm going to sell my first book. I'm just going to write this book. And you had big expectations. At that stage, there was no expectation about 3 books and writing a trilogy and, doing podcasts and doing all that sort of stuff and, becoming a teacher and a voice for authors. That wasn't even there. So what happens is people can see the big picture, they get frustrated because the little picture is not materializing. So you got to have patience. It's a game of patience, a game of mindset. That's why it doesn't matter what business you're in anything, that little voice, you're either going to master that little voice and push through, or it's going to hold you back. don't overestimate the short term and don't underestimate the long term. It's always, 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 always harder than we can imagine. And when you stick with it, you know, I'll share an example with you, Kim. I started working with Blair Singer 15 years ago. Okay. And about a year into my relationship with Blair, I went to the US and I did an interview live with Robert Kiyosaki in Phoenix, Arizona, back to a network marketing business here in South Africa. And for me, it was massive. You know, there was 5,000 people back here. I'd set it up, got to meet Robert Kiyosaki, you know, in my opinion, one of the top financial literacy authors of all time and entrepreneurial teachers. And one of my goals was to work directly with Robert. It took me another 11 years before I actually started working directly with him. I met him a few times. I went to courses. I did all that, got to know him through Blair, but never ever. And 3 years ago, I started working with him. He asked me to do a pilot project for him and develop a program. And for 2.5 years, I traveled around the world teaching and training with him. That took 11 years, something that I wanted, but there was a whole lot of things that I had to accomplish before I got there. And the reality is this: if I hadn't have accomplished those, if I had have started working with him 5 years earlier, I wouldn't have been able to handle it. I wouldn't have been in the right place, the right time, the right mindset. So the right things happened at the right time. I had a business partner who was so frustrated that we couldn't get linked to Robert Kiyosaki that he pulled out of the business within 2 years, because this should happen and we should be here. And it's that measurement of, now I could have done it a lot quicker. Now I look back, I go, hey, there's a lot of things that I learned in the journey, but does that make sense? So don't underestimate, you know, you have a gift, use that gift, go out there, get it to the world, and keep going.
Thanks so much for that, Barry. I just want to let people know, the authors that are watching it, I don't think that I would have gotten through the pandemic if it wasn't for the Uncovering Greatness team. They did regular trainings. A lot of those trainings were for free, so people who had lost their income and that could actually sign in for it. And there's significant changes that I've made in my life because of that. Now you have, I think it's, is it a Wednesday or a Thursday? You've got a thing called Thrive. It's a weekly thing where you chat to people about entrepreneurship. And make no mistake, viewers, if you are an author and you want to earn a living full time, you are a business owner. You have to learn the skills of business. I've heard too many stories of authors who get all their royalties, don't pay their taxes, then have a heart attack, and then the next lot of books, all they're doing is paying back to the receiver of revenue. There are key business principles that you need to know, you need to connect with and master in order to have a successful author career. Barry, tell us a little bit more about Thrive, how it works, and what kind of things you teach in those sessions.
Thanks, Kim. So Uncovering Greatness, our goal is to teach and build entrepreneurs to help you guys get bigger, stronger, better businesses. And Kim is so right. If you're an author and you want to make money, you better become a business owner, because it's a business. You know, you're in the business of writing books. If you're doing it as a hobby, cool, keep it as a hobby. But if you want to make money, it's a business. So at Uncovering Greatness, that's really our focus, is helping building entrepreneurs. And we run, you know, the entry point with working with us is we run a series of free programs. I run a program every Wednesday evening from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. called Entrepreneur's Guide to Thrive. And in that I unpack, 25 years of experience working, building businesses, teaching people all around the world. And we cover a myriad of topics when it comes to being an entrepreneur. And, I take on questions there so people can come on, and we have a regular group of people that are with us, and it creates an environment. What it does, it gives you an opportunity to learn, be in an environment, and then you decide if you like what we do. Well, you can walk the journey with me from there. And we have a whole series of programs that we teach. And for example, for some of you who are in the author game, one of the next steps is to become a teacher. You use your book and you create programs. So we have a program, for example, where I teach people to teach, to run seminars, to build seminars, and how to do that sort of stuff. So our goal is, really to be able to equip entrepreneurs. And then every Wednesday afternoon from 3 to 4 p.m., my wife Nicole, who's a specialist in mindset, she runs a program called You versus You. Again, it's a free program. Log on, jump on, and go from there. And maybe, Kim, if it's good with you, a good place for people to get started is just log on to my website at Uncovering Greatness, and you can download. You'll get a free copy of my book. That'll get you started in sales, and you'll get there's a few other free gifts. And come and join our world. And pretty simple. We're looking for people who are looking for us. If you like who we are and what we do, hey, we can help. If not, that's okay. And but let's really excited, and Kim, you've walked a fairly long journey with us, and it's so cool to see your success and to see you growing and moving to different levels. So well done, because information is one thing. Knowledge comes from application. So to see you applying the stuff out of our events is so cool. So well done.
Thanks very much. My most favorite event is definitely the cash flow game. So for those authors, it's not just about making money from your books. You can think a bigger game. You can think on how to make better decisions, better financial decisions for the health of your family, your financial health of your family. And I've learned so much from those. We had one just last night. They asked me to host one of the rooms, which is like very interesting, because then I got to see what other people saw in me when I just started out, and some of that stuff was pretty scary. So for people who do want to participate in that, that's an event that the team runs 4 times a month. The frustrating part for me is that people think that you go in once and then you're like, okay, been there, done that. But conditioning, which is something that your team works very strongly on, that's something that takes time. So it's always great to be in as many events as you can so that you can build that mindset. So when the big money comes in from the royalties, you know how to work with it.
100%.
Excellent. Sorry?
Otherwise, you'll do what you normally do with it. And if that's spend money, that's what you're going to do. Very
true. The behavior is like just shout out at you in that game. Barry, I want to thank you so much for spending time with our viewers. I am going to be popping down links for how you can get hold of Barry's gift to us, the free book. And then I will also be popping links for the entrepreneurial hangout, and also for you to register for the cash flow game if you want to participate in that journey. So it's been amazing having you. Thank you for sharing your insights. I really do appreciate it. And we'll see you at the next event. Bye for now.
Thank you, Kim. Chat to you soon.